In 2018, my husband died tragically, leaving me a widow and a single mom of 14-year-old twins. I created 13 streams of passive income for our family. It let me take a year off to grieve with my twins and figure out what I was going to do. And that's when I formed my company, Titan Impact Group. So Titan is being the sentinels of the American dream. Impact is that every investment that we do leaves every person, property, and community better than we found them. And then Group is set up so that families can plug in and create those passive streams of income for their families. I believe we can do better than we must. And I truly believe that we can do good and do well at the same time.
Catherine is the powerhouse behind Titan Impact Group. She's raised millions, authored 5 best-selling books, built thriving nonprofits, and is doing what is called impact investing, which is changing the lives of many. Catherine, what haven't you done? Welcome to the show.
I'm happy to be here with you. I'm excited. We get to have a conversation that actually matters and matters for people.
You've co-authored a book, The Wealth Wise Women's Playbook. Can you tell us what was the inspiration of the book?
So this is kind of a funny journey, and I'll go back to the beginning of the journey because I think a lot of people can relate to this. It was well over a year ago. One of my business partners wanted me to go to a conference about AI. At this point, I was like, heck no. I felt like I was apped out and softwared out. Like we had so many softwares that we were using and apps that we had to learn. It was one more thing. And I felt like my brain was going to explode because we had like too many. And she's like, no, this is different. You need to go. And I was like, oh my gosh, kicking and screaming. I went. And that was the conference that changed my life. It was a very small, curated group of business owners. And we dug in really hard about AI. What I understood about AI at that point was when we can use it as an actual relationship versus just another tool, that's when everything completely transformed and changed in all of my companies and my nonprofits. It was the catalyst moving forward. So fast forward to this whole journey of really building this relationship with this AI and having it, my work in my companies be way more efficient and effective. Then one of the things that came was the possibility of actually writing a book. Inside of the book, Who Not How, I'd become really good at finding who knows how and plugging into them and getting it done rather than me having to figure out the how. That was part of this team. So they had an opportunity that I could work with them and they would help me write my book. And I was not confident enough that I could actually do this by myself. So I hired them to do the white glove service to help do the book for me. And that was my very first book, which is Commas to Impact. They worked very closely with me, helped me write the book using all the tools. What was really extraordinary about this is that I was born to a teenage mother in Northern Canada. And I was in and out of more homes than you can possibly count. I went to 13 different schools, didn't learn to read till I was in the 8th grade. And I still to this day struggle to read. So I use lots of tools. I use Audible, like the Speechify, things like that, because I'm an auditory learner. I'm not a visual learner. And so the idea of me writing a book is like not going to happen. So having a team that would come alongside of me and help me do that was truly magical. Worked with them on that, but I was so excited that I wanted to understand how the whole process worked. So I worked alongside of them. Long story short, at the same time, I actually wrote my second book, which was Complete Wealth. If you've gone through any deals or investments or anything that's gone sideways or just didn't go the way you thought it would, it's a 20-minute process that my late husband and I used for decades on how to actually get complete with that, but more importantly, glean the lessons from it so that we could use those as stepping stones rather than stumbling blocks and become better investors, better business owners, just better people all the way around. That's the process we have for that. I was so excited about this whole thing that I had a nonprofit we created called Wealth Wise Women. All these incredible women helped me make the whole thing happen. And so my thank you to them was I asked them to write a book with me. And each one of them wrote a chapter and we worked with them and did all the tools. I did a smaller version of what they actually did for me in my book. And so all these women came together. Here's what I love about this. If we don't have a minimum of 7 streams of passive income, when any of the 5 Ds hit our family, death, divorce, diagnosis, downsized, or being dumped, if we don't have our financial house in order, we will literally be devastated. And so all these women are telling their stories about how they're in completely different asset classes, doing all the different things, but how they pretty much came from nothing and built amazing empires. That's what women do when we're given the right tools, education, and mentors. And so this is a book all about that, all the different asset classes. And that's another thing that's really important to me is encouraging women to make sure that they diversify their portfolio into different asset classes, not just different assets in the same class. The reason I say that is from my own experience. I came to this country at 26 with nothing, married my late husband, and he had a dream. We turned it into a multi-million-dollar company. I was a millionaire by the time I was 30. We sold our company in 2008. In 2009, the economy tanked and we had everything in one asset class. So when the economy tanked, my husband got sick, like we literally ended up losing everything because we were not
Can I ask you
diverse
what asset class?
classes. It was single family homes, which is where we all know, everything got wiped out. So that was a huge learning lesson for me. And that's a part of why I wrote this book. I want women to understand the importance of it, but then like understanding what are the different asset classes. And so there's like a ton that are in here. There's so many more, but this is a good starting point to connect women to that, which is really exciting. And then the cool part is that I invite women to go talk to my clone. I have an AI clone, CatherineBell.ai, and hundreds of people are having conversations with my clone about investing, learning about all the different asset classes and helping educate them on what is an accredited investor? How do you become an accredited investor? It's taking teeny tiny baby steps along the way. But when we take thousands of teeny tiny baby steps over decades, we actually end up living a life that we absolutely love because we intentionally created it that way. Statistically, less than 3% of investing is actually done by women, but statistically, women's investments outperform men's every single time. And now, right?
Why is
like,
that?
here's the science behind it. This is really fascinating. Men are like waffles, women are like spaghetti. Men can only stay focused on one thing at a time. And as women, our hemispheres are actually connected, right and left hemispheres. And so what happens is our brains see how everything touches everything. So we're like spaghetti. Everything just touches everything. And so when you can bring that laser focus and that ability to see how everything touches, oh my goodness, what can be created is absolutely extraordinary. That's what my late husband and I created in 2018. My husband died very tragically, leaving me a widow and a single mom of 14-year-old twins. But I created 13 streams of passive income for our family at that point. And it was at that moment that I realized like that was my aha moment. I created these streams of income. It let me take a year off to grieve with my twins and figure out what I was going to do. And that's when I formed my company, Titan Impact Group. So Titan is being the sentinels of the American dream. Impact is that every investment that we do leaves every person, property, and community better than we found them. Group is set up so that families can create those passive streams of income for their families. I believe that if we can do better, then we must. And I truly believe that we can do good and do well at the same time. So that's why we set it up this way. And, when a man makes $1 million profit, he goes out and buys fun toys. We love the toys. Now, woman makes $1 million profit, she pours it back into her family and community. We need to make that impact because that's what has this country be amazing. It's the small businesses, one person at a time making a difference in the world. That's what makes the impact. If we can, we must. And the more commas we add to women's bank accounts, the bigger the difference in the world they're going to make. So you and I get to show women how to do that and that it's possible and necessary, and that they're not alone. All these women came from nothing and built up amazing empires. So if they can do it, you can do it too.
When wealth and money are in the hands of women, it's true. I heard someone give this analogy and I thought it was kind of funny. You have a billionaire CEO who has a lot of wealth. He'll spend it on building a rocket ship to bring rich people to space. When money are in the hands of women, it'll go back to their families. I think there's a statistic also where women invest more in nonprofits and more in giving back to the community than a man would.
Yep. Well, again, because our brains just see the world very differently. We see how everything's connected to everything. And there's a way that, again, we can do good and do well at the same time.
I love that.
One of the many things I love about women. I love men too. And
Okay, so you mentioned the 5 Ds. Let's dive into that some more.
the reality is that all of us are going to experience at least one, and that's death. Nobody's getting out of this alive. That's the truth of it. And the reason I bring this up is because at 3 o'clock in the morning, we're thinking about it. We're concerned about it, but nobody's talking about it and addressing it. I lived through my husband dying tragically in 2018. And the very limited amount of people that I could honestly talk to about it was very, very small. Our society doesn't talk about death and address it. And then all the complications that come with dealing with the finances and all the things that come with all of that. So, yeah, I'm talking about the hard things. Divorce. None of us go into marriage thinking we're going to get divorced. Otherwise, we wouldn't get married. But sometimes stuff happens, right? And we have to deal with it. I was having a conversation with a gentleman several months ago. He was sharing with me very vulnerably about him and his wife getting a divorce, and it's sad. And he wants to make sure she's taken care of, the kids are taken care of, all that. But now the double pressure of having to provide for 2 households, it's enormous. And so they came up with an agreement that, now they'll sell off the portfolio they built, which is breaking his heart because they just built this whole thing and now they're selling it off. So him and I had talked about, rather than giving her the money, what would happen if those two came together and collaborated, took the capital from that, and instead of just giving it to her and having it disappear, what if they agreed to put it into a fund like mine? My fund is paying out 20%. It's helping over 33,000 veterans and first responders to the investors. It's paying out 20% to them. And so because of that, now he has peace of mind that she's being taken care of with the alimony and child support payments. She has peace of mind that she's being taken care of with the alimony and child support. And he no longer has the pressure of having to provide for 2 households, right? We don't plan on having a divorce, but if there is one, there are ways to navigate through it and the financial roller coaster of it. So there's death, divorce, diagnosis. My husband got sick multiple times, and his sickness impacted us mentally, emotionally, physically, financially, and spiritually, right? But having our finances in order allowed me to be there by his bedside through those ups and downs. We lost everything in 2009 because he got sick, because we didn't have multiple passive streams of income in different asset classes. We were all in one asset class and we lost it all. So downsized is like the economy. I was having a conversation last week with another woman, and she shared that her and her husband lost over $8 million in the stock market. How painful is that? They weren't diversified. So stuff like that happens. They didn't plan for that in their retirement account, being dumped from your job. Again, we don't plan for that to happen. It's not why we go into all this, but sometimes that happens. Sometimes we hear a lot of people are losing their jobs because of downsizing in companies. When you have a minimum of 7 streams of passive income, now any of the 5Ds that happen, now you're actually going to be able to weather that storm a whole lot better than if you don't have at least 7. So yeah, I'm talking about the hard things, but I've lived through the hard things, and I don't want people to have to go through what I went through. The best way to do it is to have them be set up to have multiple streams of passive income. This isn't rocket science. You don't have to go to college for this. They don't even teach you this in college or school. You just need to find who knows how to do that. It's one of my favorite books, is Who Not How. And I always say SRA, same rules apply. The same skill set that it takes for a woman to be a good mom or a good wife is the same skill set it takes for her to be a brilliant investor and business owner. What I mean by that is when we become moms, we want our kids to have a good education. So we'll go find the best school. with the best teachers. We get them the lessons they need. Or when our kids get sick, we find the best doctor who knows how to diagnose and get them better. If our car needs to be fixed, we find the best mechanic. It's the same principles. We don't need to know how to do all the different asset classes. We just need to know how to find the person who is masterful at that. We plug in with them and we get the benefits from it. We build relationships. We build families, we build communities. We're natural born connectors. It's what we do. So if we take that natural skill and we build those relationships and we find those right people and we plug in, we can have all this passive streams of income for our families. I was working 80 hours a week and coming home and taking care of my sick husband and my twins. I didn't have time to build 13 more companies. I didn't have time to even go to the gym. I was exhausted. But I knew how to find who knew how, and I just plugged into them. That's how I created those streams of income. I want women to start thinking smarter, not harder, and taking our natural born skills and going, wait a second, I could actually do this, right? Through all the connecting that women naturally do. I believe everybody can actually do this.
That's one of my
Must.
favorite sayings. Work smarter, not harder.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. And again, that's the beauty of our hemispheres being connected. It gives us the ability to stop and go, wait a sec, how can I do this way smarter? And I mean, we want to work hard, but way smarter and not be burning ourselves out because we want that balance with our families, our spouses, our friends, making an impact. Like we want all the things. And we just need to think through it better and plug into who knows how and get all the benefits.
And it's possible, folks. We can have it all, right?
Whether you think a thing or not, you're right. That's one of my favorite Henry Ford. He talks about that. You know, whether we think we can, we're right. If we think we can't, we're right. So go think something good and be right
Yeah.
about doing good.
Talking about doing good, let's dive into your impact investing and your debt validation fund. What is impact investing? What does it mean? And how is it
So
helping people?
out of all the different types of investing I've done buy and hold wholesaling, flipped 500 houses, had a hedge fund with vacation rentals, did ground up residential development, commercial ground up development. And after my husband died, I got clear that chasing money wasn't the answer. I needed to be making an impact. And so that's when I really started to like get clear with myself, like what was my why? And that's my why was leaving every person, property, and community better than we found them. So then moving forward, all the investments that I do have to do with that. So now I own a bunch of mobile home parks because it's affordable housing. Affordable housing absolutely matters, especially in this economy, and doing it in a compassionate, ethical way. And then we bring financial literacy to those communities as well. Then the debt validation fund, I like to be the bank and rent dirt. Those are my things. So this is the being the bank piece. What I love about this is that this particular fund works with veterans and first responders to help them get out of debt, stay out of debt, improve their credit score, bring them financial literacy, and really set them up to understand how money works so that they can make it work for them. Again, we weren't taught financial literacy in school. Whether it was elementary school, high school, college, it doesn't matter. It's not taught there. So if that's not taught, then what's going to happen, right? The same cycle that our families have been in, we just repeat what we witnessed. This is where we get to come in and do that pattern interrupt. Here's some actual financial literacy, and here's how it works and how you can make it work for you. By doing that, it gives these families enormous amounts of breathing room in a very real, tangible way financially. And of course, it's paying our investors 20% at the same time. So our investors are doing very well, but they're doing good at the same time. After this fund, we're going to do one for teachers and then nurses, and it'll just go on because the consumer debt in this country has hit over $1 trillion. It is appalling at where we're at. And there's a smarter way of actually going about doing this. So again, we're one family at a time, and it's making a huge impact in these communities, which I'm really excited about. It's a deeper dive than that. It's a whole other
episode, another hour.
Understand what being the bank is. But again, that's the whole point. We have a Wealthwise Women Facebook group that's free. We've got a Wealthwise Women. It's wealth-wisewomen.com. And you can go get our videos to learn about the asset classes, learn about what it is to be the bank. What is it to rent dirt? What it is to do oil and gas? What it is to do luxury flips? Like, what is it to do all these things? And when we learn them, we connect to the right people and go, okay, this is what makes my heart sing. Let's do this. Keep going, keep learning, keep growing. If we can, we must. I'm never going to stop saying that.
If somebody wants to invest for additional passive income streams, but doesn't know where to get started, say they have 50,000 or 100,000 just sitting in the bank, what should they do?
Right. So again, it comes down to making connections, right? It's all about the connections. I believe very strongly in the who, not how. A couple of tools that I really love. First, you need to get yourself educated. I love this book right here, Tony Robbins, The Holy Grail of Investing, because it talks about alternative investments, which is what I do. It's what you do. The importance of that is critical. When you understand that's what the billionaires are investing in, hello, we call that a clue. It's not the 401ks. So he really dives in and talks about that. And then getting yourself educated, then it's the mindset thing. That's a huge thing. I'll just share this with you. My twins were 14 when my husband passed. When they were 15, I woke up one night freaking out that they were going to leave home one day and they needed financial literacy skills, communication skills, and relationship skills. The school wasn't going to teach them. My husband was no longer here. So it was up to me. And teaching prickly teenagers anything is super not fun. Any parent knows. And so I was like, okay, we're going to do this. I called a family meeting and I announced that we're going to have a family financial mastermind at my dining room table every second Friday. And they're going to show up on time, do their homework, and participate fully. Because the reality is that I paid for this home. This is a dictatorship. This isn't a democracy. They don't get to vote. They are going to show up and do these things. And they'll thank me in 20 years. They weren't going to thank me then. So they'll thank me in 20 years. And that's where I stayed committed. I started doing these family financial masterminds, and we did Jack Canfield's success principles. We did that together, and there's a whole workbook that comes with it, and there's a teenage version. So we did all that. And then I was teaching financial literacy, and I did that through the book Rich Dad Poor Dad. He has a game, Cash Flow. And so we would play the game Cash Flow all the time. And I made it super fun for the kids. They rolled their eyes and did the Darth Vader breathing. Which I was fine with, just kept reminding them to roll their eyes the other way. I'll end up weird and lopsided. So we did that for 2 years. They told me it was stupid. It was dumb. I didn't know what I was doing. So anyways, fast forward. Now my twins are 20. My son's a U.S. Marine serving over in Japan. My daughter's here floating around being a 20-year-old. And when my son was 19, he called me and he said, Mom, I got myself into trouble. I'm like, what did you do? So he's in Japan. He's in another country. Like, what did he do? He said, well, I got a really big tax bill. And I was like, you make $3 an hour, buddy. How big can the tax bill really be? And he goes, no, Mom, I did what you told me to do. And I invested and I made $250,000.
That is a bad problem to have.
At 19 years old, as a U.S. Marine in another country, he managed to do this. So if a 19-year-old can figure it out from playing a game and practicing all the principles, what can we do as adults? So it's all about shifting what's going on here so that what you see out here all of a sudden becomes possible. It's that reticular activation system. And here's why I love the game. It opens your brain up to see there literally is opportunity everywhere we go. But if your brain isn't hardwired to be able to see the opportunity, it could be slapping you in the face and you wouldn't actually see it. So that's where we have to start. Because the reality is, if you have $200,000 sitting in your bank account and you have no idea where to go, I promise you it's because you haven't trained your brain to actually see where the opportunities are and to have the conversations that matter. So that's the first place. The second place, if they're listening, have a conversation with you. Have a conversation with me. I'm sure there's tons of other guests that you have. All these people are here raising their hands. I'm a who that knows how to do these things. And so now it comes to developing the relationship, right? If you're a non-accredited investor, you have to have a relationship with the person that has the investment. That's part of the SEC rule. It's to protect you. It's to protect the investment. It's to protect everybody. So you need to get out of your home and start developing those relationships. That's really important. And then inside of that, making sure that you're doing full background checks on the people on the team. If you don't know how to do that, reach out to us. We've got checklists that can help you go through the process of doing background checks on the deal, on people, on all the things. Like there's so many resources out there, but we have to start one baby step at a time. And the first baby step is dealing with this and then developing the relationships and then getting educated one asset class at a time. And just start, right? With the internet and AI and free libraries, to me, there's no excuse other than like, come on, stop being lazy. So yeah, I get a little passionate
Yes.
about that.
And Catherine's books.
Yes, my books are wrote very simply. Like I've been told from a lot of people that they haven't been able to read financial books, but mine they can't seem to put down. Again, I tell it from a very practical, step-by-step standpoint. And like, that's it. I take all the complicated big words out of it that these companies want you to be scared and be overwhelmed so that you just give them their money. Stop doing that. Nobody cares more about your money than you. And again, when you understand how simple it is, all of a sudden, okay, now we actually can do this. So yeah, it's important.
I smell a new book and, from
Several.
you, and it's about financial literacy for kids.
My family
Because
financial
it sounds
mastermind
like
book.
you've
Yeah.
done it right, and your kids are armed with the tools
I
to
did
make
the
it
best I could.
financially.
My kids would tell you I didn't do it right, but you know, what do they know?
I mean, as a mom of two young kids, that's always in the back of my head. It's true. They don't teach you that stuff in school, but I'm always trying to figure out how can I instill that with them. Especially for me, I didn't learn alternative investing. I probably didn't learn that until late past midlife, which is unfortunate. I
Right.
wish I knew about it at 19,
It,
like your son. Because if
yes.
man, where would I be now, right? Like on vacation, probably.
Right. So one of the things we did when the kids were little is because we had our own companies, and I'll just give this to all the parents out there. So we never gave allowance. Allowance to us was the equivalent of welfare. Like you just show up and you get money. No, that's not how life works. So what they had to do is they had to submit invoices for the actual results that they produced that week. Whether it was chores that they did or their grades, there was a whole scaling and invoicing system with actual numbers attached. They would submit their invoice and then we'd get paid. It's teaching them to be responsible entrepreneurs. My measure for them is I don't care what they do in the world, but I do care that they become responsible, contributing members to society. As they grew up, my kids would say, "Hey, mom, I'm being a responsible, contributing member to society." But that was my measure. You know, are you being a responsible, contributing member to society? If you are, awesome. And if you're happy, yes, that's what we're out to create. I think pigeonholing ourselves or our kids into anything is extremely dangerous. And I mean, that's a whole other podcast about that whole thing. But again, there's so many opportunities out there, and there's so many ways to generate passive streams of income to live lives that we love. And that's the other thing. It's like, you know, giving yourself permission to do the different types of investing in different asset classes rather than thinking I did buy and hold. That's the only thing I can do for the rest of my life. Go through and do a full cycle. My Complete Wealth literally walks you through what didn't work, what did work, what did you do differently. And then you take that and you go into a new asset class like fixing and flipping. And again, went through, well, I did 500 of those, but we did the what didn't work, what did work, because I love that process. Then started a hedge fund, did vacation rentals, and went through that whole cycle. What didn't work, what did work, what we do differently, like all the things. And then from there, we went into ground up residential developments, same process, and then gave myself permission to do commercial ground up. So every single process gave myself permission to try a different asset class and keep growing and learning from it. Once I got one going, then we did another one and another one. And that's how I got into all the different asset classes. But I had to start in one place with one, go full cycle before I went on to another. But it's that, again, rather than getting pigeonholed into this is all I can do for the rest of my life, like stop doing that. There's so many different options, and you have no idea what your gifts are until you actually try different things and maybe discover, oh my goodness, this is a superpower I didn't even know I had. You have to give yourself permission, just like we give our kids permission. Like try all the different things because you never know.
That's such good advice. I've never met someone who's done so many different things. And it's super impressive.
But again, it was one at a time, one foot in front of the other. And I just went through the process, right? If I can do it, anybody can do it. I just gave myself permission, and I'm giving you permission. I'm giving your audience permission. Go do it. Find people who are doing it and do it with them and do it well. Why not? Go be a contributing member to society. That's all I was doing. Over the last couple of weeks, I've had so many conversations, especially with women. Like we're all waiting for somebody to come along and give us permission. I'm here with my little magic wand to give you permission. You all have permission. This is your fairy godmother giving you permission.
Catherine has sprinkled her magic dust on us.
There you go.
Okay. All right. Well, this has been really fun. Before we wrap up, though, I just have a few rapid, quick fire questions I like to ask at the end of episodes. First thing that comes to mind. Doesn't have to be a perfect answer, just whatever comes to mind.
I love it.
What is one daily habit that you do that grounds you?
So I've been doing this for over 30 years, and it's now an app on the phone. When I first started it, it was actually cassette tapes. And it was literally that, like I had a little yellow Sony Walkman. I'd listen to it in cassette tapes, and then CDs. Oh my goodness. But now there's an app on the phone called Paraliminals. Paraliminals are the form of meditation where you have to put earphones in your ears and you have to have your eyes closed. And so something's being said in one ear, something else being said in the other ear. So what's happening is one side is distracting your conscious mind, so the other side cannot program your unconscious mind, which is what actually runs us. I listen to it every single day. There's an app on your phone called Mind Tracks. That app is, I think, $100 a year, and it's 100,000% worth it. It has dozens of different ways to program your unconscious mind. It's brain hacking.
And like, how long do you listen to that each day?
Each one is either between 10 to 20 minutes. They're really short. So it's like the 10-minute supercharger feels like you had 8 hours of sleep in 10 minutes. My favorite one that I've listened to forever is Anxiety Free, because I deal with a lot of anxiety. And so it gets rid of my anxiety. Or, they've got Abundant Money Mindset, Active Listening, Automatic Pilot, Belief, Breaking the Habit, Conscious Time. I mean, it just goes on and on. Financial Abundance, Gratitude, Happy for No Reason, Ideal Weight, Joy, Letting Go. It's endless, and they keep coming out with new ones, which are really extraordinary. But again, it all starts here. That's the daily habit.
I'm downloading that right after this.
You got to tell me how it goes. I love it.
Okay, next question. Worst investing advice you ever got?
Follow your passion.
Oh.
Passion doesn't pay the bills. So what I say, do the numbers, and the numbers will tell you what to do. I have a course that I'm going to be launching, literally showing people how to do that. The inspiration behind this is I taught this years ago, and a girlfriend of mine was 75 when she took it, and she had almost $50,000 in back taxes and tax debt. And she went through it, and she just shared with me, she's 78 now. Within 3 years, she went from like her husband and her didn't know what they were going to do, $50,000. They completely eliminated that, and now have, because what I taught them, have now over $14,000 a month in passive income in 3 years, from 75 to 78. So if you think it's too late for you, you're wrong. And you just need to engage.
I'm looking forward to that course.
Yeah.
All right. Next question. What do you splurge on without guilt?
What do I splurge on without guilt? Um, Ice cream and chocolate.
That would be my
I
answer also.
Right? To me, that's like, oh, yes. I don't know. There's just something completely delightful to me in that. So, yes, I'm a chocolate and an ice cream connoisseur.
Okay, and very last question, but I kind of have an idea of what your answer might be. What's one book that every investor should read?
The one book it's actually this one right here. It's Who Not How. I feel very strongly about this. This changed my companies and my nonprofits forever. If you master finding who already knows how and you plug into them, literally your whole life will be changed forever. Like that is a game changer. And then from there, you start digging into like, there's a whole lot of who's in here that know how. Again, like that's the piece. It's when you shift and you stop the tyranny of how, start figuring out who knows how and plug into them. That's the important piece. So yeah, I know you thought it was going to be one of my books, but nope, this one is like the game changer.
I
I
love
love
that
it.
all your books are right next to you.
I give homework all the time.
Thank you so much for this interview. It was so much fun. Where
It
can our
was.
listeners connect to you or learn about what you've been working on, your fund, all that jazz?
So you can go to titanimpactgroup.com, or I'm all over social media, Catherine Bell. Or more importantly, go have a conversation with my clone. I promise you it'll blow your mind. It's my voice, it's my knowledge, it's my experience. So it's catherinebell.ai. And I promise you, you will be delighted and surprised.
I think we're going to have you on again for a future show just to talk about your clone and AI.
Where the future is going. We could talk forever about that and how to add comms to people's bank accounts and businesses. Yes, let's talk about that.
All right. Thank you so much.
So love being here with you.